Good morning, my name is Goldie Shea and I'm a member of St. John's United Church in Cardinal, Ontario. For the past week or so, I've been engaged in a sort of pseudo-debate with the moderator of the United Church, Richard Bott, and this all stemmed from a post that I put on the public discussion forum on Facebook for the United Church. And I'll tell you what my statement was about. It was about Black Lives Matter as an organization. This is the emblem of Black Lives Matter. You can see it here. I don't have a problem with the fact that Black Lives Matter. Of course, who would? But this is the part that I disagree with. And it's the part that involves revolution and violence, because I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but Black Lives Matter is a neo-Marxist organization that supports violence and revolution to overthrow the ruling power in the United States and Canada to achieve their goal of what they see as a just society, I guess. So the issue is, for me, that the United Church, as a spiritual organization, has this on their website. I don't mind being united against racism. This is the problem I have right here. Because they're supporting a neo-Marxist organization, and we all know what happened with Marxism. In Russia, it was horrible. It resulted in millions of deaths. And you just have to look at what happened in the killing fields of Cambodia, where people were killed en masse for having an education. People were killed en masse for having a different opinion. And people were killed en masse for wearing glasses. So, Black Lives Matter calls for, if you look at their website, they call for action in response to state-sanctioned violence and anti-black racism. The problem, according to Black Lives Matter, is the rampant and deliberate violence inflicted on them by the state. But it says nothing on their website about the rampant violence that is occasioned by black men against black men in the United States. If you look at the statistics, which are freely available online, you'll see that African Americans account for 52.5% of all homicide offenses from 1980 to 2008. The offending rate for African Americans is almost 8 times higher than whites, and the victim rate 6 times higher. Most homicides are interracial, with 84% of the white victims killed by whites and 93% of African American victims killed by African Americans. In the year 2008, black youths, who make up 16% of the youth population in the United States, accounted for 52% of the violent juvenile crime arrests, including 58.5% of youth arrests for homicide and 67% for robbery. The evidence of the studies by academics in the United States reports that most of the reasons for violent crime rates that being so high among blacks originate mainly from unemployment, economic deprivation, and family disorganization. But according to the United Church, the real problem is my white privilege. In other words, guilt. They have said, the United Church, that if I have an opinion that differs from theirs, it's racism. Well, it most certainly is not. The people in the U.S. and elsewhere, they need real help, not hypocrisy. 5 days ago, in an article posted in the New York Post, detailed the fact that Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Carloche said that she and her fellow organizers are trained Marxists, and she made it clear that the ideological foundation of Black Lives Matter is Marxist-Leninism. My concern is this: what the United Church is doing here is not spirituality, it's ideology. and it's not on. My concern is not whether racism is a sin or whether it exists. Of course it exists. That is self-evident. The issue is that our church, the United Church of Canada, is embracing the principles of a neo-Marxist organization and clouding that support in political rhetoric. The goodwill of the United Church is being exploited to further the political aims of Black Lives Matter. And that organization, Black Lives Matter, is using a righteous-sounding name to hide a less than righteous agenda. There's a huge difference between the mission of the Gospels of Jesus Christ and the agenda of this neo-Marxist organization. The use of the term white privilege is discriminatory, dismissive, disrespectful, and unfair. It leads to polarization instead of emphatic connection. And our moderator, I'm speaking to you, our congregations deserve more than this. The use of this term, white privilege, you throw that around like it was nothing. Well, it's not nothing. It's disrespectful. This is about unity. It's not about division. And I find it offensive that the moderator of my church, citing the work of Jesus Christ, would attribute characteristics to me just based on the color of my skin. They are trying to sneak this neo-Marxist ideology into my church by using guilt and bullying tactics. And everyone, even white people, Mexican people, Russian people, and police officers, need to find acceptance within the United Church, or the United Church becomes a propagation of division and racism itself. In the 1980s, I studied human rights law with John Peters Humphrey, who wrote the first draft of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights after the Second World War, when 6 million Jews were killed. That's racial discrimination. I recall one of the things he said: bad men need nothing more to compass their ends than that good men should look on and do nothing. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to read you a story. This story is about a boy named James Darby. And this was published in the Atlantic magazine a couple of days ago. In late April of 1994, a 9-year-old African-American boy from the broken-down Central City neighborhood of New Orleans wrote a letter to President Bill Clinton, asking him to bring about an end to the violence that was devastating his city. "Dear Mr. Clinton," James Darby began, "I want you to stop the killing in the city. People is dead, and I think that someone might kill me. So would you please stop the people from deading? I'm asking you nicely to stop it. I know you can do it. Do it. I know you can." He signed the letter, "Your friend James." 10 days later, him and his mother were having a picnic on Mother's Day in May in a park near his house. He was sitting down, eating his picnic, eating his chips, when another slightly older African-American boy got upset at something somebody said, went home, got a shotgun, came back to the park and blew James Darby's head off in front of his mother, pieces of his skull all over his mother. He lay dying on the street. We need real solutions. We don't need rhetoric, and we don't need guilt. The people who are affected need to find the solutions. They need to operate the solutions. They need love. They need dignity. They need respect. They need self-worth. They need better communities. They need a real job. They need to have a place and be of value in this world. They do not need hate and intolerance and name-calling. They don't need to be labeled. Just like me, and just like you. The police officers enforce the laws in this country and in the United States. They do not make them. If reform is needed, reform is what must happen, not blame, not guilt, and not violence. James Darby died for no reason. So did George Floyd, died for no reason. Let us not let their death count for nothing. Violence begets violence, and hate begets hate. The only solution here is love. And with God's help, I pray we find it.